Okay, so welcome. So happy to have everyone here. I'm going to start out with our land acknowledgement and task force purpose. I don't think we have much housekeeping other than to get the minutes approved, quickly run through the agenda, and hopefully we'll have some fun community shares and shout outs. I always look forward to that. So I'll start with our land acknowledgement. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are here today on the ancestral homelands of Indigenous peoples who have lived in the Salish Sea Basin and the North Cascades watershed from time immemorial. In particular, the Lactamish people, who we recognize today to be the Lummi Nation, the Nooksack tribe, and Semiahmoo. May we be mindful of the inherent owners of this land, our children who are our future stewards of the land and advocates for the generation to come. May that truth guide our work and efforts to improve the well-being of all families and children, native and non-native, living in this beautiful country. This land acknowledgement is not meant to be a substitute for authentic relationship building and understanding. It is meant to introduce us to one way we can show respect and honor for the sacrifices of the first people of this land. All right, and then our reminder of our task force purpose coming straight from the county code that created our task force. The purpose of the Whatcom County Child and Family Wellbeing Task Force is to continually review Whatcom governmental impact on children and families and make specific recommendations for improvements for all departments. And those of us that have been on for a while take that all departments seriously. Which is very exciting. Think about that. It's not just one department, it's all of the Whatcom County departments that we get to think about how can we improve the lives of children and families in Whatcom County. Very cool. All right, to the agenda. Actually, the housekeeping, I will ask for approval of the minutes. We do not need a motion or a second on this. If you could drop your approval or disapproval or abstention in the comments, that would be great. In the chat, maybe.
Thank you.
And while Allison is tallying up votes, after we do community shout outs, we'll make time for public comment. We'll just remind everyone that public comment is a great time for those that like to attend but aren't on the task force to participate, given that only the task force can participate in matters that are on the agenda otherwise it's just us. I don't know why I had to make that more complicated than it was. If you're in the public, not in the task force, now's your time. We're going to then go to nominations for task force co-chair and vote on that. We're going to have a Healthy Children's Fund update and flood response update from Sarah. We are going to get to meet Champ, which I'm super excited about. Thomas Cuddy, if that's that's the last name and how I say it, and he's invited to correct me once we're there. Then I'm going to make a call for a council report card drafters to do that. And I'm not afraid to name names and call you out. I am hopeful people will participate in drafting our Healthy Children's Fund report card this year. And then we will adjourn. And then Colton had mentioned at the beginning, if we might be able to have a chance, and maybe now's a good time, as a part of community shares and shout outs, to extend a welcome to our new council representative. Councilmember Scanlon is no longer on. I see Councilperson Boyle is on the line. And why did I think we had two council people? No?
Yeah, Jessica's in person with us. If you wave, there we go. We'll see her on
How
our camera.
exciting and bold to be in person.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it.
Yeah, I'll be.
Would you mind just saying a few words, introduce yourself? Obviously, we know who you are because we care about county government, but we'd love to hear from you, and then we'll move into shout outs.
Hi, everyone. Jessica, I said, hopefully it's okay. I jumped in. I'm so grateful to be here. I love the work that of this committee, and I'm so grateful to get to learn more and seeing how we can help champion the good work. So thanks for having us here. And Jessica and I will take both, try to show up as much as we can, take turns if we can't both attend. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I definitely echo Councilmember Boyle's sentiments. Really excited about all of the work that has been done and finding ways to best support it from our positions on council. I am in a position of alternate to Elizabeth, and so I'm really happy to be here and hopefully kind of get to know everyone's names and faces and how to best support. And again, just really grateful to be able to be in this space. Thank you.
Well, that's a great dovetail into this next comment, which is a reminder, and I'll try to remind it like 2 times during this meeting. Our next meeting is in person. Super stoked to see you all there on February 23rd from 3:30 to 5. So how about community shares and shout outs? Anyone?
Can I actually ask a question, Sally? Is that okay? Jessica, would you mind saying your last name? I've heard people say it different ways, and I want to make sure I'm saying it the right way.
Thank you so much for asking. It is Reenstra.
Reenstra. Okay, great. I got it.
Amazing.
Thank you. Reenstra.
I think this is the appropriate time for a share. So I am on the parenting education faculty at Whatcom Community College. And some people may be aware that Whatcom Community College just decided to end the parenting education program after 53 years. The parenting education program supports 4 parent cooperative preschools in Whatcom County for a total of 150 childcare slots. I don't mean to start on a bad note. They've decided that they're going to support the program through the end of next year. And there are 3 of us on the parenting education faculty that are really starting to think about who is our next community partner and how can we continue these spaces. So we're talking to other community colleges, we're talking to community organizations, but if any of you are curious about keeping parent co-op preschools going. It's a really unique approach to early childhood education, very community focused, and 150 childcare slots isn't something to sneeze at. So I welcome you to reach out directly to me. This has not been like a public announcement yet. The president just decided a few weeks ago based on some sustainability review pieces. This is mostly money. And so I just want to kind of bring that to you as advocates. That we are open to ideas and we have more time than we thought. We thought we were only going to have until June, and we're grateful to have until the following June. So please feel free to reach out to me if you would like to chat about this or have ideas or just want to be on our advocacy team.
Christina put in the comments, where can we find this information? Allie, are you able to answer that? And then I did have a question too.
It hasn't been like published or announced in any sort of place from the college yet. So the answer to your question, Christina, is nowhere. And I will put my email in the chat so you guys can reach out to me.
And is there a role of a fiscal sponsor, or could you just briefly, like, who are we looking for when we're looking for the right community partner?
Definitely. So each of the co-ops is its own independent 501c3 nonprofit, but we are facilitated by Whatcom Community College with the support of, that provides insurance and the parenting educator and some administrative support. And so we are more so than a fiscal sponsor, we're looking for more of like a place where we can coordinate together. And then we're also opening to changing the structure of how everything works. It's possible we may have to be one nonprofit or use a fiscal sponsor. So I think we're really in the exploratory phase. But right now we exist as separate nonprofits that kind of collaborate together under the umbrella of Whatcom Community College. Yeah.
Thank you. Allison, you had a question, or Al, I should say.
Oh, I just wanted to share some events. So, March 18th, the Perinatal Mental Health Task Force is hosting its sixth annual training that is free and open to community members serving perinatal families. This year's topic is on grief and loss in the perinatal period. It's going to be at the Health Education Center out at Peace Health, and I'll drop a flyer into the chat if anyone is interested in sharing and or registering. And then I also wanted to share, some of you may have heard some news that Bellingham Technical College has added Spanish language childbirth education classes. And they've been working on this for a really long time. And so I just wanted to share the word. They have options online and then in person at Project Hope. And just coincidentally, one of the instructors is also one of our Spanish language doulas that is funded through the Healthy Children's Fund. So I'll drop both of those flyers into the chat.
Oh, so exciting. Okay, Besla and then Megan, you each have your hands up.
Yeah, I have a quick shout out to the whole group I shared with the co-chairs and staff earlier, but shout out to Tilda, who spent a long time driving down to Olympia and back with me for the Children's Alliance Advocacy Day last week. We did a lot of fantastic advocacy and supported families in their own advocacy, meeting with their legislators. And she's going a couple more times this month and doing a lot of advocacy days. So, and also personal. There's a lot going on at the state legislature regarding early learning right now and huge cuts. We don't have really time or the purview to talk about it necessarily in this moment, but I think when it comes to Healthy Children's Fund conversations, there's some overlap and some need to kind of talk to those. I have been a real nerd about the state legislative session this year, so if anybody wants to learn a little bit more about how they can participate in that or how they can track some of those things, send me an email. I'd be happy to share my nerd knowledge with you.
Bestless knowledge, nerd knowledge is the best of all the knowledges. I love it. Megan.
Yeah, I just wanted to do a shout out for Dad Space. We shared about Dad Space 2 years ago now through Perinatal Support Washington, the dad support group that's been meeting here in Ferndale the third Monday of every month. They just celebrated their 2-year anniversary and are having a lot of success with the program. So just wanted to share and celebrate that.
So excellent.
Yeah.
Carla, you had
They're
a shout
actually
out?
looking to add another group in Bellingham.
Mhm.
Just a tag on to Megan's, the Dad Space is expanding and adding another group. So
I just wanted to add another event. The Focus on Children conference hosted by BTC is happening on February 7th. And even though it's being hosted by BTC, it's being held at Whatcom Community College. And so I put a flyer in the chat about it, and there's an email or the website where you can register also.
Such good stuff. Tilda, you're just a thumbs up, right? Not a shout out.
I was, but I just realized we had talked about having a table for feedback at Focus as well.
Yeah, you guys were thinking I'd talk about it. It's not on the agenda, but if we have time, I'd love to recruit a couple people. And we can talk about that later and move on. But I think we were hoping to give a couple minutes for me to tell people about that opportunity. But we can do that later. That's fine.
Okay, thanks, Allie.
Okay, let's all work together to remember. If we have time, I'd love to have Allie share about that and try to get people going, but we are a little behind schedule here. So let's go into public comment. Do we have any public comment? Okay, we do not have any public comment that I can see, so I am going to turn it over to Vesla for nominations.
Yeah, so we've talked about it last few meetings that Colton and I are sunsetting off the co-chair roles here at the task force. Co-chair positions are 2-year positions and they're staggered. So Colton and I started 2 years ago and we have just finished. Sally and Tilda will begin their second year, and we are looking for 2 nominations to replace those. So the way this is going to work is folks can self-nominate or be nominated. We need 2 or more people to run. If there's more than 2 people, we'll have a little conversation about why you think you would be best suited or would like to take on the role. Are there any questions about that? Awesome. Okay, does anyone want to self-nominate? All right, we'll move on to nominations. Does anyone want to nominate someone to be on the task force? Co-chair. Colton?
Yeah, I suppose I'll throw a hat in the ring there. Allie, I know we've talked a couple times. You've expressed some sort of interest, so I'd love to kind of throw your name out there. I think you do a really great job. So formally nominating you. Sorry, not sorry.
I will second that.
I'd like to nominate Carla Anderson. So Allie and Carla, do you accept your nominations?
Sure. Great.
Are there any other, Carla, I see you nodding, I guess maybe. Yes, okay, confirming. Are there anybody else who wants to nominate or self-nominate? Now's your chance.
I'm not going to nominate this person unless they gave me a wink through the internet that they are willing, but I just wanted to say we'd be well served if Megan was willing to serve, and maybe if she's not going to serve, then I'm putting the seed for when Tilda and I term out that she needs to take up the mantle. Okay, I'm hearing her like my push to next year. Loving it. Thank you. Okay. So I am not nominating her then.
Thanks, Allie. All right, I think procedurally we'll just do Allie first and maybe approve, right? Approve in this isn't a fist of 5 thing. This is approve or disapprove, I guess. Yes or no? I don't know. Whatever's easy for. Okay, approve. We'll do Allie first.
Yeah, please type into the chat box. And then a little bit for you, Sterling. Allie?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, when you have the total ready or the answer, then we'll do Carla.
Yep, we're good. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Carla for co-chair position 2.
Okay.
Was that it? Okay, good.
Yep, we're good. We got our co-chairs.
Awesome. Two new co-chairs. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Wow, how lucky are we? Amazing.
Awesome. We will be well served. Thank you for your time and commitment to the work this year. Also, I guess in other membership housekeeping, Ray Deck formally resigned from the task force. He's got some work commitments that are coming up, and so there will be an open position. I believe it'll probably take a month or so to get that on the council agenda and get approval for. So if you know anybody who would be a good fit, I think Ray's membership is based on a community membership role. So any community member can fill out an application, which is then discussed at the task force at the council meetings and then voted on. So more information about that following soon. All right, Sarah, you ready to give us an update on Healthy Children's Fund and the flood
Totally.
response?
Yeah. But before I get started on that, just want to give big props to Vessel and Colton. Thanks for your 2 years. It's a lot of time to spend as a co-chair. And so you take extra time out of your day, like your weeks and your months to, come and plan agendas, and you're thinking about the task force a little bit more than everybody else. So thanks for letting us occupy your brain space and all the energy and time that you put into this. I really appreciate it. It's a big deal. to have role models doing this good work. And then additionally, so excited to have you, Carly and Allie, to be working more closely with you. Really looking forward to that. And I know Ray's not here, but big props to Ray and all the time and energy he put into the task force. And also, I really appreciate that Ray stepped down when he didn't have the time. There are actually several members that I think we need to check in with who just haven't been able to make the time commitment. And that's okay if it doesn't fit into your schedule, because there's lots of people who do want to be a part of this group. We often have more applications than we do spots. So looking forward to who fills in that position in the future, and huge props to Ray for initiating that and seeing that he didn't have the time, and then also all the time and energy he put into this work before. So I have lots of updates for y'all today. I've been reading a book that's taking place in the South, and they use like a lot of y'all and like all this really fun colloquial language. So anyway, I've been noticing it's slipping into my vernacular in a fun way. But wanted to share, we are actively working on quite a few contracts right now on my team. One being all these capital contracts, and it has been so fun and exciting for Carrie Ann and I to have all these kickoff capital meetings with early learning providers who run programs in their home. That has felt like a whole new place for us to get to as the Healthy Children's Fund, as the county, and finding ways to equitably support them and making sure their commitment meets the amount of money we're providing, and also what their provisions to the community. So that has been so cool, watching providers say, I never thought this would be possible. How exciting is this that I get to do that in my own home? So that has been really amazing. The other thing Allison Williams has been working on really, really rigorously is a whole bunch of new doula program contracts, and it has been really exciting to see that work go into its second year of fruition. And we're actually working on potentially having a part-time hourly person be the coordinator. So last contract period, it was a contractor. We know that it would be even better if it was someone who could be part-time at the county, be a little more embedded in our staff. And so it's exciting to be in that place of program development with the doulas, and Al's been working on that really diligently, in addition to the peer support contract that we're hoping will be at council in the next couple of meetings. So excited for that to launch. Other thing is, we're going to make announcements in the next couple weeks about the subsidy administrator and move forward on that. Just with the flood and some other things happening, it stalled out that work a little bit, but we're still in communication with folks on the subsidy, and we're looking forward to keeping that rolling. The other thing in terms of just like big picture work my team has been doing is that we're currently in the contract renewal phase for lots of contracts, which means over 39 contracts are being renewed, or we went out for RFP again. And so everyone is just in quite the rhythm. And I've just been so impressed and proud of my team, like the grace, the technicality, the technical skills it's taken them to do all this work. And it's cool to see us kind of come around on contracts and fund them for a second time. In addition, County Council, as you probably saw, unanimously approved to spend $750,000 on flood victims or winter storm victims in Whatcom County who have children under the age of 5. And so I've been working with the Emergency Operations Center staff and other folks throughout the county on what that would look like. And so late last week, that kind of mini RFP, mini grant went out to the community. And so what we're doing is we're funding organizations who are supporting families in kind of a few different ways. One is rental and housing support. So a lot of folks who are impacted, who haven't bounced back to their homes, are actually not the homeowners. They're people who are renting property in those areas, and so still need some transitional housing. The other thing that's come up a lot for flood victims is basic needs. And so either, re-childproofing your home when you move back in because all those supplies were trashed, or getting new car seats, or just kind of general supplies you need to live day to day have been an additional expense that's been hard for folks to maintain because of all the other expenses they've had to pay for due to living through a flood. And so that money is out, and you'll see in my, oh great, thank you. And just put the link in the chat, and it's also in my report. If you want to see what that, RFP application actually looks like, you can see it there. And then in addition, of course, you can see any of our most up-to-date contracts in general on the link provided at the end of that. The other two things I want to share with you about, and Vesla had mentioned this, is that, the governor has made a lot of cuts to proposed cuts to early learning and care in his budget proposal. One of those big things that would, I think, really impact all of us is his proposed cuts around Working Connections childcare, that state subsidy. In particular, you may remember that a big part of our subsidy plan is built around the concept that there are many families in Whatcom County who do not know that they qualify, who are either in need of childcare and they're not accessing it because they don't think they can afford it, but they can with the subsidy, or are in licensed childcare and just don't even realize they have access to this subsidy. And so we really wanted to bring in more state dollars to help support these families. And if the governor was to cap Working Connections childcare at 33,000 kids and families, which we know they'll meet by early this summer, that would impact what we're hoping to do here in Whatcom County. And I think, one of the things that's important to us with our local subsidy is that we help serve families outside of the typical service area of the subsidy, which is beyond 60% of the state median income. And that, I think, we would serve a lot fewer people within that 60 to 75% of the state median income as we hope, because we'll have to serve families who are under that, who are not being served by the state subsidy, which is a huge shame. And again, kind of feels like, man, a nick to our plan, because originally we were even hoping to go beyond 75% of that state median income, and they have even peeled back their attempt at expanding Working Connections that they had promised within the last couple of years already. So I have already made a report and sent that to the executive's office, who hires someone to advocate for us on the behalf of the county. And Vessel and I've already been in communication and will continue to advocate where is appropriate in my role. But we really hope that that proposal is not made. I think the early learning community is being really loud and clear, but there's been a lot of cuts that we've been surprised by. And then additionally, I wanted to share, I didn't put this in my report, but just wanted to share a tiny bit because Elizabeth Boyle and I are going tomorrow to do this, or she's going on Wednesday, but there's a project with the Lincoln Institute on land management and policy. And I am going with a very small team of folks, including myself, Elizabeth Boyle, Mike Hammis from Ram Construction, and John Perry, the mayor from Nooksack, and Maury Ingram. And we're going to learn from the folks at the Lincoln Institute on Land Policy and consider how could we develop our own land management and building management policies for early learning and care. I think what I've learned and our team has learned, the more we've dived into doing capital work for early learning, is that we need some more like some stronger policies and programs in place to support early learning and care, land management and building management, especially when we have so many private childcare providers wanting to access public dollars. And so how can we support them in these endeavors of expansion while also protecting and maintaining these buildings in the county? So I'm extremely excited. The goal is that you develop policy recommendations within 6 months, and you get lots of technical assistance from the Lincoln Institute. And lucky for us, we have a county council member who happens to be on our team, Elizabeth Boyle, who can help make those recommendations to the rest of county council. So I'm really excited about what's to come there. A lot of things came up when we did that capital RFP that I think could be solved through some clear direction that our county can make there. So more to come. It's a 6-month project, so I'll be reporting on it monthly. In terms of some spotlights, what I'm hoping to do moving on is we've been having a lot more really cool publicity because there's all these outcomes now coming from our programming. And so you'll see there's an article from the Salish Current that I listed for you all, but that is one of the projects that I love learning the most about. It was just exciting because when we put out our innovation fund RFP, we got so many applications for childcare centers to put occupational therapy, physical therapy, mental and behavioral health resources and the like within their childcare centers. And so we ended up hiring Dr. Finchman from Western Washington University to support us in evaluating those projects and then creating a learning community for all the providers who we ended up funding to continue to do this work. And so it's been so cool to see the Whatcom Center, the Whatcom Family YMCA and Send in Behavioral Health, and then also Whatcom Center for Early Learning do this work in childcare centers, including the Whatcom Community College Co-op preschool programs that Sendin is in doing that work, and the incredible outcomes we're seeing from kids' experiences, parents' experiences, and childcare providers' experiences. So more to come on that. The other thing I wanted to add is that the SEVA Consulting delivered the final external audit and program evaluation reports in the executive's office on December 31st. And then in terms of outreach and communications, the Healthy Children's Fund website is still underway, hoping for that to come out in February. I just had to push the launch date back just due to some extra work related to the flooding. And then, as you all know, we have continued to have our videographer hired, and he's been doing some really neat stories. Some coming soon right now are going to be with the Latin liaison from the Ferndale School District, where the video that was on the Ferndale playground actually was just released, which was really, really wonderful, Christy. It's so sweet. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but I loved it. And then he's going to work with our doulas as well as in-home child care provider and then Ferndale Community Services in the next coming months. So lots of really good stuff on the docket and also lots of really tough stuff like the state budget. And so we're never, work is never scarce. We have lots to do around here and we're really glad to do it together and with all of you. So happy to take any questions from the group. Oh, will council be reviewing the audit and engaging with the exec's office on that? I hope so. When I was writing this report, Vesla, it was a reminder to me to ask the exec's office what's their next steps there. But I do think I don't think there's anything wrong with you all seeing the document. You've already seen drafts of it. And so when you draft your report card, you could have that document.
Sarah, maybe you could let us know next month or even before, just kind of what that process looks like. Like, where does the audit go from?
Sure.
From here?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll say just for my sake, like my team and we stay up on those things and look at ways in which we can already make impacts and changes in a small way, right? The audit was inclusive of all of county process, but the ways in which we can make a difference, we try and turn those levers on immediately.
Yeah, does that look like, like a written, I don't know, we've had several audits this year, Head Start and ECAP, and so I'm just kind of curious, like what that follow-up looks like for you, if there's, I don't know, I'm just curious about that whole process, like where it goes from receiving the report from SEVA.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tilda.
Sarah, why did I think that you guys were writing a response to it, or was that the exec's office when Jill was on the meeting?
Maybe she said that. I don't remember.
Okay.
Because the exec's office is the one who requested the report, and the audit is inclusive of all Whatcom County process. I would imagine that the response should come from them.
Got it.
But more to come. Great. What other questions are coming up for folks?
I don't have any questions, but I just would say, wow, that was really great to hear about a lot of the things, and that I just honor and appreciate all of you on this task force who are really holding the emotional heavy weight of what is going on with cuts and living through that every day. I don't have to hear about it every day. I'm not sure I could manage if I could hear about it every day, because it feels like 2 steps forward and 5 steps back at this point. So thank you to all of you who continue to advocate and hold that weight for our kids.
Totally. I have a little painting in my office I was telling someone about the other day. It says, "Don't stop before the miracle."
Mm-hmm.
I have to look at it a few times a day sometimes, but I think that's an important reminder.
Well, I know I see Dr. Dominguez on Facebook pushing stories and everything. So I appreciate all that.
Yeah, the article you wrote in the Cascadia, Christy. Thank you for that. Okay. Well, thanks so much, folks. You know where to find me.
All right. Well, without further ado, let us turn it over to Champ.
Someone's met me before.
You must be in person because we don't have a big video picture of you.
No, I'm here in person.
Okay.
Well,
We're so
thank you
excited
for
to have you
inviting me.
here.
And you correctly pronounced my last name. So kudos to you. Champ Thomas Cuddy, I'm the 90 days today in the position of Director of Health Community Services. Big move for me. As most of you know, I moved cross country, dodging the ice storm as it turns out right now. It's been a pleasure thus far. A lot of things going on the first 3 months, storm notwithstanding, but it's been a learning experience. I'm excited about activities like what's happening with the Healthy Children's Fund and the work of this task force. A little bit about myself. Hopefully most of you haven't heard my spiel. My training is as an epidemiologist, but I've spent most of the last 13 years or so in sort of public health management, more of a bureaucrat than anything else. So I learned to count really well and try to apply some of those standards and strategies to the work of running the operations of a health entity. I'm trying to take that lens to our activities. So things like the SEVA audit and evaluation are really critical to how I would like to approach all of our programs so that we have a good sense of, are we doing what we promised to do with public funds? And if we're doing well, how can we do more of it? And if we could do better, how quickly can we modify and change and move forward? Because ultimately we have really big goals on how we can help our community. And I like these programs that you're involved with because it's an opportunity for us to go upstream instead of being reactive to challenges in the community. We seek opportunities to improve the health and well-being of our community. And that's what excites me. And that was what was attractive about Whatcom in the job search process. I was about to joke that Sarah probably has talked to me the most and allocated way more time because I tend to ramble on whenever I talk to groups. So I didn't really have a prepared statement because I know your time is valuable and it's towards the end of the day, but I'm happy to field questions if anyone has some, or we can move on with the agenda.
You are going to have to fill the next 45 minutes. I'm sorry. You can sing, you can dance, you can tell stories. But no, actually, I do have a question. I mean, one of the things that I feel like the Healthy Children's Fund brought to the forefront was the complication of administering this type of fund in a county that, well, not in a county or this county specifically, but just in a system where it takes all of the county government to work together. And it feels like, to me, there are still some significant log jams within the county that are outside of your department. So you could have all the people inside, but if you don't have finance and legal and executive team and the other members of the county involved, that it can't get the momentum that it needs. I'm curious about maybe your reflections on what I just said, if you've encountered that, if it's too soon, what have you, but that's my question.
I'll start with things that you're probably all aware of. Healthy Children's Fund was started before it was really ready to start. And so the team's played some catch up, but they've been sprinting nonstop since the beginning. And each move along the way, if you look at the legacy of what's happened, they've tweaked and refined, and they've brought more partners in all along the way. So, a year ago, maybe didn't have quite the collaboration across departments, across different sections of central government, but you see that. So in our meetings, finance is at the table, legal's at the table, other departments or other core partners within the community are at the table. So we're navigating what is a pretty complex process. The community made the big hurdle of committing to invest in the well-being of our children. Some of it's selfish because children that are prepared for school are going to have a better chance of being successful in life, and we all benefit from that. So that was the biggest step to take. Everything else is in support of that. The idea of public-private partnerships are always complex, and there are public funds that are going to private entities. So once that commitment was made, because that's the only way we can really make sure that the resources are spread across the community, not just in the part of the county that's best prepared to leverage these funds. And that takes a lot of due diligence. And Sarah and the team have been working nonstop, coming up with a good idea and then making sure that that idea can be implemented. So there's some nice things that are just about to happen. You know, we've got contracts that are in that due diligence phase where we're trying to make sure that we manage the risk of public funds to private businesses, that we get return, that those most at risk that have been identified through the mandate of the Health Children's Fund are those that are being served. And one of my big concerns with the storm and the idea that some of these dollars would be used is, are we going to disrupt our ability to assess how well we have done something or where we need to improve it? The hope, and I think there's a pathway where we can have our cake and eat it too, where the existing projects can continue on and the new ones that are coming on board should be able to move forward. And that's why we've taken small bites out of the help, because we also don't want to displace state and federal support. Because some of these resources won't pay for the same thing twice, even though the need is there. So everything has been very measured, circumspect, a lot of input on the right way of doing that. And even then, it's a leap forward, but I think it's a leap and a risk that the community has deemed worthy. So that's how we've approached that. And I think there's some other opportunities within the department's activity that can sort of mirror some of the approaches so that we do a better job at what we are trying to attempt. Ongoing evaluation is always critical, being able to pivot appropriately, having a priori evaluation in place before we start a project. So everyone's on the same page of what your deliverables are, what we hope to achieve by this, and then being transparent and reporting back out to the community and making sure they know what's happening. And I think the better we tell our story, the more support we get, even from those who are maybe, I want to say it, antagonistic is too strong of a word, but they have a high index of suspicion about these type of projects. But I think if they see, that's a COVID phrase, we haven't yet shared the story as well as we could, but we're getting better. And I think each time we do that, more people become partners instead of combatants. You know, and I think the approval of the spending plan is a perfect example of that. It was approved 7-0, and that's not a small feat. So I see good things in the future. We've got a great team working in support of it. I don't know. I don't think I vamped enough to fill all the time. But look, if you look at the cross section of where Health and Community Services is now, a lot of what we're doing is in response to challenges in the community. But this is one of the shining lights of what we do to prepare for a better tomorrow and a better next year and a better future long term. And I'm hoping we have bandwidth, even coming into a challenging fiscal cycle, that we still have bandwidth to have a similar approach in other sectors of the community, healthy aging, disease prevention, and other things. And they kind of link together if you think about it. But there's only so many Allison and Sarahs in the world, so we have to do what we can with the tools.
Carrie Ann.
And Carrie Ann, I'm just trying to look at who's on the window.
On our screen.
And I'll start rattling off names and all of you on this task force that have committed to, keeping an eye on things and coming up with ideas and suggestions for what's next. And we can't rest on our short-term successes. We have to keep seeing what's new, what more we can do, and what data tells us is an opportunity.
Thank you. I see Tilda has her hand up and then Vesla.
Hi, Champ. My name's Tilda. Nice to meet you. This, first I want to say you have such a great team. Allison and Al and Sarah and Beth and Carrie Ann and I hope I didn't forget someone, but they are awesome.
Beth's right here. My apologies.
So yeah, we're so thankful for them and all their work. I did have a question, and I'm not sure if it is specifically for you, or it might be Anne or Sarah. I just am curious what is going on with the Early Childhood Career Development Network. I work at Opportunity Council with our preschool programs there. Workforce challenges are real, especially in this industry. And so curious, what is the status of the project of the career development network since it kind of fell apart with BTC?
I was going to say, I don't think Champ has been briefed to date on that one. And I'm looking and I don't see Sarah. She must have stepped off for her piece. I will say, I know that there have been some conversations. I haven't been a part of that one as far as trying to figure out what the next step looks like. And I know Sarah mentioned this a lot. The flood stuff kind of derailed a lot of our movement on everything across the board. So let me check in with Sarah when she's back from her Chicago Institute trip and find out where those conversations are, if they're getting rebooted again. But I know that it has not been dropped. There's still work on it. It just got paused right now. And I will, and hearing all the conversations about capacity and everything else too, the exec's office is down a deputy exec as well. And so that just kind of means that it takes us a little bit longer to have conversations in all the levels we need to. So, but I will get you that information soon. Thanks, Tilda. Sorry, I don't have a better answer for you.
Oh, that's okay, Anne. I think if it could be part of Sarah's Healthy Children's Fund report next month, that would be great.
Perfect. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Tilda, I will add one point to your question. That was part of the conversation as we strategized of leveraging the Healthy Children's Fund for storm relief, trying to do what we could to protect that, to make sure that the strategies that were put on pause still had an opportunity to be implemented and hopefully flourish. So kind of wonder, that's why I mentioned cake and eating it. We're hoping that we're still able to do all those things, assuming we can get the projects off the ground, but there's still capacity to do that.
And I'll just offer, as a dovetailing off of what Tilda said, that the task force did write a memo recommending action to the council and the exec's office, and it sounds like it would be a good idea for us to forward that to both Anne and Champ as a way to help maybe make your learning curve even shorter on that issue. So I'll be sure to get that out to both of you.
Thank you.
And Beth had her hand up.
Yeah, I have a hand up. Considering that the Healthy Children's Fund is a pretty considerable part of the Health and Human Services budget, I wonder if in your reading of the audit and your briefing on the audit, if there are a few maybe top three kind of findings in the audit that you're kind of committed to exploring and addressing first in the first half of the year.
Trying to say something smart, and you don't have a bad opinion of me from your first. A fair amount of what I've reviewed spoke to the early days and some of the challenges in getting up. So it actually isn't as helpful to moving forward as it was highlighting some of the challenges that led to sort of a slow onboarding of the strategies. Couple of things that were quick takeaways. I don't think we've done a good job conveying to the community why this is a valuable tool. So we're working on the communication piece. You've seen a couple of things that have come out. I think for part of the community, they wonder what the dollars are being used for. So we need to do a better job of conveying the goal, why we're spending this money, why it was something that was deemed valuable for the community, and then how we're getting there. And slowly but surely, we're demonstrating some of the projects. We're about to accelerate some of the new contracts, and we'll be able to demonstrate how the resources have been dispersed across the community, not just in certain areas. So that's, I guess, one and a half things. Our governance on what we're doing is not something that's really visible, but I think it's important for the detractors to realize that there are eyes on what's happening and the steps that are being taken and the contracts that are being implemented are, well reasoned. The risk is being managed. There are eyes watching what's happening to these dollars to make sure that that the intended goals are being reached. And that sort of valuation piece is something that really has been important to how we're getting these new contracts up to make sure there are performance metrics and that people are held accountable and that those that are watching are being held accountable as well. So that's not really three big things. It's sort of two and a half things that are linked together. With the direct aid and the investments in the private businesses, there's a lot of movement and it's a lot of manpower to get those things up and running. So I'm really hoping that by the end of the spring, there's some momentum on all of those and we're on kind of an accelerated path into the next school year. And we'll see that the summer is maybe some trial and error time to make sure that our processes are in place and that we can the direct assistance is a new process for us. And it's not very common across the country. So even though the steps are reasoned and the potential partner is a good choice, we still have to be methodical in the approach there. Probably not giving you the best answer, but the couple of things are so big and the team attached to it is not big at all. So they've got broad shoulders and have been carrying a big load without not a significant amount of resources. That's why really engaging the rest of county government and the different offices has been critical to getting us here. But we still have a large job in front of us.
Okay, thank you. I guess we will read the final audit report and maybe have some more questions, but I can just maybe summarize a little bit in the work that we have done as a task force and the subcommittee meetings over the past couple of years. And I can share from our perspective what we think are kind of the issues are, and maybe others on the task force, and maybe Sally's going to chime in too about it. But I think the three that I can think of currently off the top of my head that we've brought up kind of repeatedly is this issue of the gift of public funds seems to still not be resolved. And so that is something that we'd really like folks to explore, and maybe for you to explore as you start your tenure here. Additionally, we already mentioned this, Sally mentioned this, the kind of interdepartmental bottlenecks that happen and how those can be smoothed out, especially with the shortened or the reduced staff at the exec's office. And then we still have a lot of questions about the administrative budget, and from what we can see and make sense of it, it's still pretty underspent. And so when we hear the capacity issues, we wonder why that can't be spent to boost the capacity that's needed across any department, not even just in Health and Human Services, but also in legal and finance. So those are our three that we'd probably, anyone else can add on if I'm misremembering things or mischaracterizing things, but I think that would be a good place for us to start to share from our perspective and our report cards.
I don't have anything to add to that. Thank you, Vessa. That was well summarized, and I doubled down, triple down, quadruple down on what she said there. I don't want to be the only one that is asking questions. I do have another question, but I really, really want to make space for other people. And I am counting on you all to raise your hands if you have a question. I will see it. I am watching the feed. Okay, I'm going for my question. Which is it's twofold, and actually they're entirely separate questions. Take them as you wish. One is if you were designing an agenda for the task force to spend time on, knowing that it is our job to make recommendations for all departments throughout the county on ways to improve the lives of children and family in the county, what would you recommend that we focus on other than the Healthy Children's Fund? That is a job we already know we have. We love that job. We are ready to go and, hit the ground running on that job. But what else should we be looking at that you might be able to recommend? So if you could think about that. And two, just any initial thoughts of what you did in your prior work that you're stoked about bringing to this county to potentially improve, like some prior thing you did that you are excited to potentially, if you can, implement here.
I think the second question is probably easier for me to respond. I spent much of the last 10 years working with teams to create a system of care around behavioral health, and where it intersects with the community all across the life course, starting with prenatal services, which intersected with our criminal justice programs, which is how it started. Moms with substance use and mental health needs. Luckily, my former health officer was an obstetrician, so it was a nice synergy in our capacity to provide behavioral health services and intervene. Because that was a time period where people were most motivated to be in recovery, which led to more programs. So we laddered up from what began as a peer recovery specialist led emergency department intervention, identified needs with pregnant women, which led us to a criminal justice program, which led us to a more robust court and parole and probation services. So we ended up essentially creating a complete circle of services that helped us in several ways. The most telling two details were our cases of children that were taken, or infants that were taken into child protective services, almost dropped to zero. not all the work of the health department, but it was sort of this coordinated activity to provide the needs in a very vulnerable time period. And also spent a lot of energy on reducing stigma, not only with the people seeking services, but also with the clinical population that was providing services. So we had a lot of culture change in labor and delivery, and with our sheriff's department, and with schools, and a whole range of audiences that touch the lives of these individuals. And it also kind of demonstrated the value of evaluation. So as we're listening to the participants, we uncovered opportunities. And one of our participants became an employee. We ended up hiring several folks that lived the life of recovery. And so that was a really important program. And we ended up, launching mobile crisis programs that evolved from just responding to overdoses to suicide prevention and grief response and a number of other things, sort of bridging that gap between traditional clinical services and law enforcement engagement. So we put a lot of energy into getting the right person in front of an individual in need, and it was resource heavy. Some of our programs were strictly driven by grants, but over time those grants disappear. So we had to learn quickly, how can we take these strategies that are working and sustain them with the tools that are available. So the projects themselves are still important, but it's those lessons on how to manage resources, how to take advantage of what's available. Our community was a peninsula, a lot of coastline, very few roads, so navigating it was difficult. And ultimately, we didn't have a lot of shared resources from neighboring jurisdictions, which is similar to what we face here. So we had to learn how to be self-sufficient and maximize what was in front of us, which lends itself to a major strategy. And this is something I'm looking at for the health department, both now and in the future, but workforce. Someone posted that we need teachers. We do. We need trained healthcare or childcare providers. We need parents that are equipped to raise young children, to maximize their potential. And that doesn't come easy. We don't have the same family structures that we did 20 and 30 and 40 years ago. I'm coming out of an environment where we have a significant portion of our parenting population made up of grandparents, aunts, uncles, neighbors, and talked to a grandparent who thought they were done raising kids, and they're put in a position where they have to do it again, giving them tools to help bridge generational divides. So there's a lot of opportunities in different ways. So I'm kind of lost in the two questions at the moment, because there are parallels in what I did and what's happening here. And that was one of the things that made Whatcom an attractive destination for me. I don't know, the question about the agenda and things to do, that's maybe bigger than what my knowledge is at this point in time. Maybe in a future meeting, I'll have a better response for you.
Actually, yeah, tie in, I guess, in this sense. We're a specific group. We are focused on young children and families. And the county's building a great big new jail with, what's the other part called? The other unit?
Behavioral Care Center?
Behavioral Care Center. We are experts, or should be, at the table for all of that, knowing what the county's doing, because we have people involved from this department that are involved in discussions with that group. And I think that's a natural tie-in to something that's separate from the Healthy Children's Fund, at least for now. And if there was a part from the Healthy Children's Fund, why wouldn't we directly the most capable group to advocate for that. So it's kind of a question.
Well, as the experts, your voice would be well received. Now I'm pondering back the listening session that was in Ferndale. I didn't go to the second one. The conversation was heavy on the incarceration side. And the advocates that were there representing the behavioral care side were limited, and they were largely from our department. But I don't know the population well enough yet, but I imagine there's some similarities, and there are a lot of children whose lives are impacted because of what happens in the jail or what doesn't happen in the jail. And that's part of the continuity or continuum of care that we should be providing, both to reduce recidivism, but also to improve health outcomes. And those two pieces have a big impact on the trauma that children are potentially exposed to. And I guess I'm preaching to the choir when I talk about ACEs, but they're real. And they're so far downstream that we sometimes forget that decisions that we make strategically now and better informed decisions that we make right now have a big impact on those children, not only in their immediate few years, but their readiness for school, their ability to achieve their potential in school and be prepared for that next step in life, whatever that is. So the feedback from this group would be an important voice to make sure that the groups tied to the developments here and the decisions around that would be critical.
And to say that the incarcerated parent is the only childhood experience, adverse childhood experience that's so simple. It's a removal. And what's the solution to that? How do you fix something that's purely a removal? Is don't let that happen. And and so part of it is that they don't get removed because you reduce removals by CPS and groups like that, or they're in jail, or they're in treatment for other things, that there be a system that helps them not lose contact with their children, because that's the thing that causes the adverse child experience. So I like that. We should be part of that.
I think you can be.
Any other questions for Champ as we're nearing the end of our time here? Champ, I was really just that first question was a leading one. What I wanted you to say is you all should be at the forefront of jail planning issues task force, because that would affirm my belief. So it's okay that you didn't say that. I kind of think you did say that a little bit.
I might have said some of that, but it's true. Starting bringing up an excellent point, and why my hesitation, I kind of thought you probably already were or should be. If I were my old place, I would have presumed that you weren't, but this is a much more progressive, in the most positive use of the word, region. So, and you're all smarter than I am, so the fact that you aren't actively part of that kind of surprises me. So we can work on that.
Yeah, you've got a thanks in the chat from Vesla. And I guess what I would love to see as a co-chair is that we can repeat this conversation in, 3 to 6 months and maybe follow up as you've gotten more acclimated to the community and more of the specifics. And yeah, I hope that you're up for that. I think it would be great.
Yeah, pencil me in for April. The legislative session should be kind of resolved, and that'll give us a better picture of what our 27 is going to look like.
I love that. Allison will you put that actually on the agenda as we prepare? I think he said April. Maybe we move it to May.
Either one's fine with me. Just, that's
Okay,
a
great.
big hurdle we're dealing with right now.
Sure. Okay, last call for comments or questions for Champ. Otherwise, really, again, thank you for carving out time for us. And feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting. The rest of the meeting is devoted to seeing how low Sally can go to beg someone else to write the report card. It will be cool this year because we have the audit and maybe some response. So we're going to be able to crib some stuff or really respond to that, highlight all of that. I'm already going to work on it. I am willing to. I didn't last year. I would love a partner to say that you are willing to review it with me, come up with ideas, thoughts, but this is one of our big jobs.
Hey, Sally, or maybe Allison H, could someone remind us all, back us into the time frame for this?
Yes.
Yes, I'm looking on our schedule, and so for the 2026 schedule, the report card is due to council for the month of March, and council meetings are on March 10th and March 24th, and this group is scheduled to meet on March 23rd. So what that means is that come February, you would need to vote on the approval of the report card, so we have time to get that on the council agenda for either of those March meetings.
Oh gosh, I didn't think it was due till May, so I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
Well, and actually, I mean, I don't think that we're going to have the report card ready for the February meeting. I think that there's probably a draft. I think we're going to have to vote on it immediately prior to one of the meetings in March.
I think we have to have it approved in February, Sally.
We do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can share that as I've been on the task force a long time. They have various degrees of intensity, these report cards. And it's really up to the drafters to decide. I think our first report card out the gate was 30 pages long, or we just set a high bar. It doesn't need to be that high. We've already been talking about these things. We've got the audit. It is a report. It's not necessary. My interpretation of the report is it's simply informing our council members, particularly our new council members, what we've been talking about and what we've been caring about. The spring report is typically on the Healthy Children's Fund. So, and then as we go along over the course of the year, we can provide recommendations however and whenever we see fit. So I think I invite us or folks that are going to be interested in drafting to just practice a little summarization and synthesizing of what we've been doing and not be too focused on big, bold recommendations that are outside of the things that we've already discussed or highlighting kind of our main concerns. And so we have council members on the task force. We have that door. We have the ability to give them information as it comes up. So it doesn't need to be this big, scary thing. If that helps folks who haven't, and it's a good practice if you've never done any of this kind of thing to help draft something. So if you haven't done it, I invite you to stretch and do it. Also, I'm noticing on the health department, our October report isn't on there, on the website, the county website. So maybe that could also help a drafter. But we can draft things. We can send, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say we could send a draft report before the meeting and collect even like written feedback, like sent back to the co-chairs or the drafters. We just can't use a shared Google Doc that we're all like editing or any of those kinds of things. So I think there's a process in which we could have something that people have seen and given a chance to get some feedback on for the February meeting.
I think well summarized, Vesla. It's definitely many hands make light work. And yeah, we don't have to go super wild. I probably can't commit to helping draft portions of it, but I'm happy to help provide review, thought partnership, and that sort of thing. So count me in to take a look at it at a time.
Great, thank you.
Yeah,
Wow.
Allie? Yeah, I'm happy to help as well.
Great, thanks. Appreciate it.
Me too.
Awesome, Tilda, love it. Very good. Great, yeah, no, and the May, I don't think that our October report to council for what we've done as a task force is on the website. Sorry, Vesla, but I think that the last two report cards are on it to give people, because this is a report card on the Healthy Children's Fund, which is different than the report to county council.
Right, yeah, my mistake. We have two reports due a year, and we've sort of like historically done them where the spring is Healthy Children's Fund and the fall is the full council. That's up to debate, like to change. We don't have, it's not required by ordinance to do one report on Healthy Children's Fund and one on the other business. So that could also be something that you all on the drafting committee kind of explore, is like, here's our response and what we're thinking about in terms of Healthy Children's Fund that we've talked about this last year. Here's a little other business, like we've been talking about the jail or something. So it doesn't have to be a report card on the Healthy Children's Fund.
Gotcha. All right, friends. Then I gift you back 9 minutes of time.
Do you mind if I talk about the focus thing?
I do not. Oh, Allie, thank you.
So much.
You did it. You reminded me.
Thanks. So Saturday, Carla said, Saturday, February 7th, which is very soon, less than 2 weeks away, is the Focus Conference. Some of you might remember that we had a listening table at the East Whatcom Regional Resource Center Health Fair it was very rainy. Was that March? And we used it as an opportunity to talk to people with children and ask them about their experience being a family in Whatcom County. And what are the challenges? What do you love about it? What's working? What's not working? And I reached out to the co-chairs a few weeks ago because we've been offered a table. There are other organizations will be there. There's also some vendors, and we've been offered a table so we could talk to childcare providers. It's really not an audience that we as a task force have directly communicated with. It's an opportunity to talk to certainly people in Whatcom County. There will be people from outside of Whatcom County. And I'll also point out that there will be a variety of childcare providers. You're looking at licensed providers, non-licensed providers, family child care providers, which are the people who take care of over 70% of the children in the United States, but certainly in Whatcom County. And so there would be 3 little windows that we could have this table where people would be engaging with us. So we would be able to set the table up and be there from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So not a super long time. And we could have a couple different shifts within there because mostly we'd be engaging with people between the sessions. I am presenting all day, and so I don't have the capacity to physically be at the table because I'll be presenting a few sessions. So I would welcome anyone who might have 2 hours that day to come and do that. It's not an obligation. I can let the organizers know that we're not available, but they've offered to make an announcement about us at before the keynote to let people know They can come talk to us. We could do something similar as we did last time, which was create something visual for people to write down their experiences on and kind of put them up. So that's my very brief spiel, that we have an opportunity to talk to childcare providers and really find out more about their experiences. So you can let me know, I guess. I would want to let the organizers know by the end of this week if we're going to be there or not. So yeah, I'm welcome. I can take more questions, or I'll put my email address in the chat as well, which would be the best way to get a hold of me about that.
Allie, you can count me in to help. I'm going to be at a table with Wheela, and so I can leave it for, like, maybe if I could take the later shift and get my table started, I'm happy to cross over.
Great. Yeah, and we can advertise the vacancy. Maybe we can get like a family childcare provider from East Whatcom County or something glamorous like that. It would be amazing to have representation from a childcare provider. Thank you, Tilda. Thank you, Carla. And I can also talk to Jen and see if we can like put those tables next to each other or something to make it nice and easy. I'm not sure if she has a map yet. Yeah, that's great, because we're really looking at one shift being from I already turned too many pages in my planner. One shift being from essentially 8 to 10, and then the second one would be from like 12 to 1. So it's possible that Tilda and Carla, you might be able to do it, or if someone else wants to join their colleagues, that would be great too. Saturdays are tough. I like taking them off, so I understand.
What day is it again? Remind me.
Saturday the 7th, a week from Saturday.
I'll get back to you. I just have to double check, but I'd be happy to do 12 to noon if it works.
Yeah, no worries. I'll reach out to you, Carla, and Tilda.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
And Colton, is he still here? He is. Colton, I might reach out to you about some of the materials that we had from last time. I'm not sure. Not that I'm expecting you to make them, because we had like a whole tree, and we might not have something that fancy. It might just be Post-its.
Do you still have someone has the tree?
I have the tree. I'm pretty sure I have the tree. And then I have some supplies, I think, unless I turn them in, but I'll get back to you on that. But I'm pretty sure I have the tree.
I'll check in with you, Carla. Thanks.
All right, friends.
Yeah, you
Journey?
did lose form a couple minutes ago, just so you know. So your meeting
That's
is
great.
over.
That's fine. We are adjourned. Goodbye. Thank you for coming.